Grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch. No, real women don't. 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 Real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's going on, ladies? Welcome to the live recording of the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast, where I'm super excited to be here with you with guest host Pika Boo, Pika of One, yes, in the house with me to always just have these deep conversations. I just love our conversations. For those of you that watched The Last Samurai, but it was really, really good last week, and it's gonna be even juicier this week. I thought last week's topic was good about bad reviews and stuff, but today we're talking about contracts and the chargebacks. And so as soon as I say that, what's like the first thing that comes to your mind?
Actually, I think about value, right? So I was always taught that if you're going to price something, that you should explain price one time so you don't ever have to apologize for the worth of something that you've created. But I know a lot of people be like charging just willy-nilly, and then somebody would be like, oh my God, it's not worth it. I want my money back. And you're like, wait, what? So there's a lot of mindset that goes in there. So it scares me a little bit when someone says chargeback. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, no.
Well, you know what? And this episode is going to be put y'all on game about a lot of stuff. So hey, Terry, you really should want to stay in for this convo. So I had a dear friend of mine who is a very ethical business owner have someone sign up for one of her programs, and it was $5,000. They paid in full, and then they requested a refund. And when they were like, no, you don't get a refund, they went to their credit card carrier and they went for a chargeback and the ruling for that. And what made it even worse was that the woman actually began to chip away at the money. She started spending it, right? Because let's just be real. The vast majority of entrepreneurs, as soon as you get the money, you needed the money before you got it. It is no different than a paycheck. If we're going to have real conversation, you have to get past that threshold where your money isn't like living check to check in business. And just because, and no offense to this person, I mean, I'm not saying that all of this applies to her, but you guys know how I pull meat from situations. But just because somebody charged a high ticket amount for $5,000 and got paid $5,000 in full, hey, Delicia Beautiful, does not mean that they're financially stable or that their situation was okay. Because honestly, with all tech, you see that? This is why you guys should not be afraid to do live or podcast, because this is real life. So bloopers happen. But it says a lot to you about the state of health of her business. It also says a lot about the state of health of her mindset, because she didn't have that contract signed either before she started chipping away at that money. Ooh, somebody's coming in live. I think that
Please
I want to join in the discussion. Raise your hand, beautiful.
jump in.
So I know, because I would love for you guys to chime in. So could you imagine getting somebody to pay you $5,000 for a service, change their mind, want their money back, and you started spending some of the money? So before I get into my coach dialogue, let's bring Anitra Boo on.
What's up, Anitra?
Come on, darling, put your 2 cents in.
Unmute yourself, Anitra. We can't hear you, yeah?
Yeah, I am mute. You know, I got to, there you go. Anitra, I think you still mute. Okay, don't touch anything. I'm going to unmute you. Anitra Boo, can you hear me, darling?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Come
Let's
on.
go.
Time for some action.
Wow. Okay, because yeah, I would have been like, no, you don't get your money back. Your credit card did what? What happened? Oh my.
So can you imagine that happening to you, or do you know for sure that you have things in place to protect yourself from that?
Things in place to protect myself from that, because it can happen. I'm always about what it can happen. Yes, like entrepreneurs, we get in and we like, okay, when the money comes in, you already have these other things that you need to pay for. And so that's the thought, like, okay, I'm gonna have to use some of this money for something else. And you never really think that somebody's gonna come back and take back or ask for a refund, especially on services that they've already paid for.
Yeah, well, and I'm gonna tell you just like this. Number one, I did a little bit of digging, I did a little bit of research, because this happened to me, and I'm gonna mute you just for a second. I'll unmute you again in a second. It sounds like you're active, so you're doing something. I hear your noise in the background. But anywho, it says that over 50% of chargebacks are actually fraud. That a lot of people are deliberately signing up for products and services, getting what they want, and then they are making fraudulent remarks as to why fraudulent claims as to why they should get their money back. Sometimes it is because like you said, not properly explaining what your product or service is, not giving clear details about return policies, or customer dissatisfaction. But now, because consumers have been quote unquote protected by law, they are abusing the ability to charge back. And so for the people that are watching us live, I'm curious to know, have you considered this, and what do you have in place before I begin to talk about this? Because when people sign up to work with me for one-to-one coaching, it's $1,250 a month. So that's a $7,500 contract. And if you pay in full, it's $6,000. I give you basically a month free. So when somebody's charging that amount of money, it doesn't have to be that much. It could be $10, it could be $100, it could be whatever. But the higher the number is, the higher the probability is as well that the credit card companies will snatch that money back. And the majority of the time, when there is a claim for a chargeback, it goes in favor of the consumer. So what are you doing to protect yourself? And I don't see anybody putting anything in the comments just yet, but let's get your mind, peekaboo.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I understand that, but it's scary because you mentioned this is a situation that you explained, right? That she didn't even have a contract. So for me personally, I don't feel good about asking for payment until I have a contract signed. Because then at least you know, okay, this is the terms, these are the conditions. If you decide to quit halfway through, you need to understand that, you know, this is what you might get back if you get anything back. Otherwise, you're locked into that payment. Because people need to understand, as you create a business, you're depending, this is your source of income, this is how you eat. So if you're promised a certain amount of money, you're looking forward to that a certain amount of money, and you're of course going to put in the work. But if someone backs out halfway through, you need to protect yourself as well, right? So I usually make sure the contract is in place first before I even ask for money, because it makes me nervous anyway.
Okay. Now, one thing I will also say this, I'll give you two more situations. I did my very first summit all the way back in 2017. I was working with this really amazing graphic designer. She website for somebody. It once again $5,000. That's that trigger number. Once you hit that 5K mark, and she did the website and had the woman look at it. That she said she loved it. Everything was good. Bam, website done. Bam, requested a chargeback. Now I had another situation with someone who was actually a client of mine who had a contract in place, and the individual tried to stop midstream and then asked for their money back. And by no means, let me put this disclaimer around here because we're talking about protecting ourselves. By no way am I giving anyone any legal advice. I am only having a podcast episode so that you can begin to do your own research and get your own representation and start thinking about how you're presenting yourself in business. Anything that you do that I say on this podcast, I will not be held liable for your decisions because I am not coaching you. We are literally just having a conversation, and I am speaking about the experiences of other people. So please don't use my vicarious conversation as your substitute for your legal advice. Now, with that being said, let's continue this conversation. So, but that person put me on game about I believe it was American Express, and they're one of the ones that they really work to protect their consumers. And so it was pretty much like snatch and grab, take it back. But, but my thing is what did your contract say? So once again, this is like, y'all can say, August, are you seriously giving this kind of information away on a podcast episode? Number one, anybody that's worked with me one-to-one, you know that there's a little clause in there. Not only does it say that whether you finish or whether I absolve this, the services due to your negligence, non-participation, all of that stuff, it says that you are required to finish what the payments for the contract. If you paid in full, that you do not get a refund. Not only that, at the beginning of my contract, it states that you are mentally entering into a relationship where you know that you have to be of sound mind and you are making a conscious decision to enter into this agreement. So if you try to get out of it, you can be like, oh, well, I didn't know. No, this says that you knew that you came in with the intent of taking this service on. In addition to that, there's this little clause in there without saying it verbatim, but it also says that you will not attempt to get to file a chargeback through through consumer protection, through PayPal, or through protection through your credit card. I'm literally requiring you to even initial the fact that you see that in that contract. Because you guys ever trip up out of some contracts, even though you're signing it and you are liable for the whole thing, they still have you initial at those really significant points.
Clauses.
And in addition to that, a lot of you all don't have this, and I know it because every once in a while I have to do a system of checks and balances with the people that work with me. You do not have your warrant, your policies, your terms of service, and your refund policies on your website. You got to make sure that your stuff is plastered everywhere so that someone does not come back and try to get their money. Now, Anitra, I didn't know if you had something else to say to this. I just unmuted you if you wanted to chime back in.
Okay. And you're right. So what I ended up doing is I actually have legal assistance as part of my business in case I get into that kind of a situation. So, and because you never know what's going to happen, even though I have contracts and my contracts say this, that, and the other, I always want to make sure that I'm protecting my brand, my interests, as well as my client, but I'm gonna protect me first.
Absolutely, and be considering the fact that you really do take on some big contracts sometimes, working with other entrepreneurs and business owners. I love hearing that about you. Look, Terry said, let me go and review my website now. Yeah, and if you go to my website, Terry, at the bottom, you see. And you can click those links. And so, especially for those of you all that are dealing with intellectual property or you're dealing with any form of coaching, a lot of people don't like having a no refund policy. Oh, but let me tell you something. I have no problem letting it be known that you will not get a refund because there are too many things that I am not in control of. I can literally tell somebody, I'm going to give you the eggs, the milk, the flour, all of that. And here's the instructions to bake the cake. And then you'll be like, I ain't have no cake when it was done. Well, hell, you weren't supposed to just look at the ingredients. You were supposed to do it. Or the first time they bake it, they didn't pay attention to what they were doing and the cake ended up being flat. People will want to blame you for their lack of diligence. People will, and especially if you have anything that you're doing that heals over time. Like Terry, I know you deal with finances. You can teach people how to construct a budget. You can tell them what they need to do in order to improve their credit score. But you and I both know that these are long-term events. And maybe they come in with a bang, the first 30 days, but then they revert back to their old ways in the next 60 days. What if they bought a one-off product? There are too many things that you don't have eyeballs on. You can't see. So you don't want to leave yourself in a position where you're liable. It is a risk investment. And it needs to be stated plainly that that's what it is and that there'll be no refunds for that whenever you are offering a service that is solely contingent upon you. Now, my one client, Dana, she grooms dogs. Now, what does the person have to do other than get the dog there? You know what I'm saying? That's But when you all are dealing with things that are in the scope of intellectual property and you're talking to these people, you need to make sure that you have your stuff in order. So everywhere. Now for me, here's the other thing. I'm going to put this out there and then Peekaboo and Anitra, whoever chime in. I use Infusionsoft. And so when I create my products on Infusionsoft, I actually, if you just look at the main page, you might just see the name and a simple blurb. But once you add that to your cart and you get ready to purchase, my whole entire contract for some services or my refund policy is in the long form description of all of my products and services. So once again, you acknowledged it when you bought it. And so I know a lot of you all, you like to use PayPal, and that's why it's good if you use a landing page, because PayPal, when you do it that way, if you all are just using your standard PayPal links and doing your regular subscribe buttons, you can't put extreme detail. You're just creating a link for a product or service and selling it. And so some of you all, when you're creating those little buttons, that's why that button needs to be on a landing page with very explicit detail. So that fine print that y'all don't want to express is the same fine print, the hashtag results vary, that a lot of these companies have. And when you try to charge back, you ain't getting nothing back because they got it everywhere. Or they'll say things like, these results aren't common. This was, an anomaly. This was a special case scenario, whatever. And so I just want to put that out there.
I do want to co-sign with what you were saying when it comes to intellectual property and spiritual work, emotional work, mindset work. It really depends on how you stick to it. You might come out the gate 30 days, whatever, but habits take a little longer to actually establish and make sure that you change your lifestyle to suit the habit you're trying to adopt. And a lot of times you can stick to it the first couple of days because it's still new. And then after a while, it's like something pops up and you go back to what you've always done because it's comfortable. You've done it before. So yeah, I totally get that. It's hard to make sure that everybody understands. Like managing expectations, I think is really hard, especially through a contract. But if you don't put it out there, you don't, at least like CYA, you don't cover your ass as far as what people are expecting from you. I know that I've been part of coaching programs where they said one thing, they made it seem like you're going to start making money as soon as you graduate the class or whatever, and that's not what was happening. What they wanted you to do was create content for them, but they were sharing their platform. You weren't about to make money from it though. So at that point, I knew there were a lot of scare tactics involved. People were saying they were going to get their lawyers involved, smear campaigns, all kind of stuff, but they did not manage their expectations well. So a lot of people were very disappointed. I know for those of us who are really trying to make a difference and really doing all the difficult work emotionally and with business and mindset and stuff, we can't do enough covering our butts. We need to make sure that it's very explicit about what you can expect when you come to hire us as a business coach or an emotional coach.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning of the video, because you were like, I don't want to even accept any money, if they haven't signed a contract.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, and my clients will tell you, I don't care whether, which one I get first. I don't care if I get the money or if I get the contract, but I want both. You understand what I'm saying? So if I'm in the middle of a sales call and I'm like, hey, sign up, bam, here goes everything, I'm sending them the paid link. But like I said, now here's the caveat is that I have all of that information on my platform. So they're technically in a contract regardless, because that's the terms of purchasing that product. But simultaneously, I'm also sending them that agreement. So for me, when you give me your money, and you could have gave me the money first, but not signed the actual physical contract, you don't set up any appointments to start working with me until you get it done. And I ride your ass until you do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what a lot of you need to wake up to and realize is that you need to be financially mature and responsible. I have nothing but love for a girlfriend, but as a friend, not even as a coach, I would have been like, but why did you begin to spend the money in the first place? You don't spend money in good faith. You don't move that money until you have everything in position, hey, Mary, to make sure that you are free and clear. That's the part of the conversation. And I understand if anybody watches the video and they don't want to raise their hand and say they did that. But some of you need to be responsible and just say you're so happy that you finally got a sale and you got some money, and you just believed everything was all good because the person sounds super duper excited, and you moved too quick and you spent those funds when you needed to actually let them sit. Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that. That's part of that business mindset, that you're actually running an actual business, whether it's brick and mortar or not. I don't think people really wrap their mind around that. They need to have a separate account that's not their house account, their personal account. They need a business account. They need to watch what they're doing as far as where that money goes, what it's spent on. And I don't think a lot of people are doing that. Obviously, people start businesses out of a necessity for more money. And because of that necessity, they don't have those things set up, and they don't really teach that, in school or anything. So where do you figure that out when stupid stuff like this happens?
Yeah, unfortunately for most people you do, but I can honestly tell you, so we're really not going to get into this conversation right now, but there's always a debate of should you be an LLC versus a sole proprietor. You're protected more if you're an LLC because you're not liable, which I talked to attorneys before that said that if you don't file LLC correctly, that your personal items can still be sued against them. That's not what this conversation is about. If there's anybody that happens to listen as an attorney or knows someone who would love to come and speak about that, I'd love to have you as a guest on a podcast. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, let's just talk about the minimum requirements in order to start a business. You go and you go file for the fictitious name, which in some places, like in St. Louis, only $16. In Chicago, I think it's $80, and in California, I think it's like $300. But you can literally file a fictitious name, and you can call the tax IRS, and you can get an EIN in 5 minutes. And if you take that fictitious name and that EIN to a bank, people think that it's complicated, that you got to have all of this stuff, but you don't. You can literally go to the bank, and if you take that and your address and your ID and all of that stuff, you can easily set up a bank account. And there are plenty of banks that, don't go to the big wigs, what I'm saying, like a Bank of America or, a U.S. bank and stuff like that, where you have all of these fees. A lot of them have free and clear checking. They have a lot of things to help small business owners, so you don't have to spend all of that extra money. But that's literally all you do is say, hey, this is where all of the funds are going to go for my business, every single payment. And when you get ready to buy a house or to buy a car, then they're going to see how often deposits are made into your account, how routinely they're made into your account. And those are the kind of things you need to do. But all of this is about doing things decent and in order. And unfortunately, what a lot of you all are doing is saying, I got a skill, I got a hustle, I can make money. And Facebook makes it easy. And I keep hearing coaches like August say, you don't need a website anyway. So I'm just going to use Facebook as my quote unquote website and build, my business from there. Anybody can open up a page on Facebook now, but do you see the great check? See, a lot of y'all tripping off the blue check. Oh my God, it's celeb status. They got the blue check. But how many of you all ever pay attention to the business pages that you go to see if they have the gray check? Because whether you know it or not, which Facebook is not liable for a lot of this stuff. And so sometimes we get pissed off with what Facebook does with the algorithm. But a lot of this has to do with clickbait and fraud by these stupid ass companies, that you need to look and see whether or not a company is verified. You need to look and see if they're verified, because that gray check mark, that means that August Crenshaw sent in her information. So all of that stuff that I would have had to send in for the bank in order for me to establish a business account, I sent all of that information into Facebook so that they can know that I was an actual legit business. And so a lot of people, they haven't done that, and they may be legit businesses, but they still, that says a lot though about you not crossing your T's and dotting your I's to make sure that you are protecting yourself and protecting your consumers that are coming to you.
Yep, absolutely. And that's part of the reason that I'm with you, because you know all these things. You're actually teaching me to make sure I have everything dotted and checked and crossed out and everything. So from start to finish, you know exactly what I should be looking at and what I should be paying attention to. And then comes the mindset, the motivation, and pushing myself to scale and all that stuff. So I don't know that stuff. I wasn't born with that innate knowledge. I had to learn from someone. And I chose you because you've been thorough no matter what we've talked about.
And unfortunately, what's happening with a lot of programs is they're just pulling people in. You got a dream, you got a this, you want a this, go out there and sell it. Now, remember last week we were talking about protecting your reputation. Remember the woman I told you guys about who paid for the year in full and then had the audacity to ask for her money back? You want to know what she didn't do? Is she didn't file for a chargeback with me. And you want to know why? Because even in that group, there was a document that they all had to acknowledge that said, guess what? You know that there are no refunds. I even have it in my document. So let's just say somebody in my group decides that they don't want to be in there anymore, even though it's a non-contract agreement. And some of y'all, so here goes the big juicy nugget for you all, because some of y'all think so small business. I think bigger business, even when things were really, really small. So before there were any members in that group at all, I was like, okay, what happens if you are traveling, speaking, or you are doing something at an engagement, you have taken a couple of days vacation, you're putting on a summit and you're getting all these hundreds of people sending you messages, and one of the people in the group decides that they don't want to be there anymore. Do you or don't you have a VA? And if you do or don't have a VA, still that person is supporting you with all of those other functions. So it says plainly, 5 business days. You got to give me notification 5 business days. If you don't, when that cancellation, thank you, baby, when that cancellation comes through for them to get out of the group and it's the 27th, but their payment is supposed to withdraw on the 28th. If I happen to just be there, or the situation works itself out where, you know, I can stop payment and it doesn't charge the next day, that's fine. But otherwise, they liable for the payment the next day. It's their responsibility to know when the money's coming in and out of their account. It's their responsibility to make sure, because they already know. Come on, you already stressed in advance if you're not going to be able to pay, or you're already in an even keel, like I've gotten all the fee for this group and it's time for me to go. And I thank August for the time that I've spent with her. But the point is the people in my group have to acknowledge the policies that are there. They got to watch that welcome video. And then in that group, they had to make a comment, say they saw it, check it. They didn't know it, but I screenshot that shit. And if you was going to do something crazy, then guess what? Then bam. Then that paperwork was going to be right there to send to the credit card company to say, or whoever, to say, look, this woman said
they acknowledged
in this program. And so a lot of you, part of how you get around the legal BS is by having your contracts in place. People be like, damn, she don't play. Hey, you know, when you have stuff in place, people like, man, see, that's why I just don't even want to mess with this. And they walk away because they're in fear of what you're going to do. And see, now anybody that know Anitra Boo, if you thought you was going to play her, you need to be in fear, because Anitra Boo says she got legal representation, so that, you know, she got to pull them up and call them in a heartbeat. But once again, this is a whole lot of insight for you all, period, because you've got to protect your money and you've got to have your contracts in order. And so many of you are so used to doing business. Listen to me, I don't do business with anybody without having paperwork. Let me give you an example. How many of y'all remember Me and Imani Aisha? We did Fix My Business, Fix My Marriage. We were going live every Monday to promote and to give tips. As much as I love me some Imani, I think she's a very beautiful soul. She's a very sweet spirit. There is nothing scammy about her at all. But you need to know that there was a contract that was written that said, hey, We in this group together. We running it. This is what the fees are. This is how much is taken out. This is the percentages and the way that we divide it. And because I'm forward thinking, I'm always thinking big. Now, this is one of those products that flopped. It didn't do as good as we thought, but we were literally looking at creating a residual impact. And so we even had in the contract, if for any reason one of us should happen to decease, that we had our spouse's name to be the beneficiary of the funds, because we literally saw vision that big. And see, a lot of y'all got scared to do stuff like this and to put stuff in the contract. We had all of that. We even said how long we would go to term, how the contract couldn't be breached unless we both agreed. We talked about when we would have our meetings, all of that stuff. Another example, my summit. My speakers have the ability to earn affiliate commission, but they knew that if they didn't do certain things in order, then they would lose that affiliate commission. Like one of my signature things at my events is that I do a live panel discussion. Well, if the speakers didn't show up for the live panel discussion, and if they weren't on time, and if they didn't have their camera live the whole time, they lost their commission. Well, where do you think I got the idea to do that from? I got the idea to do that from a janky ass heifer, yes, I'm saying it just like that, that came in my summit and had her camera off the entire time. And so somebody said, I want to ask such and such a question. And then she put her camera on and made it just look tacky instead of keeping the panel. Or how about the woman who was actually moving? You knew months in advance that this summit was going to happen. And so for me, that was a tacky performance. I didn't like that. You could have stood here, y'all laughing. You could have stood your butt to the side, let the movers do what they did, found yourself your little quiet, echoey area, and do that. So whatever it is, it's not even just about the chargebacks. It's about protecting the way you want, like Nisha said earlier, your brand and your vision for your business. And guess what? If nobody wanted to, surrender to what I put in the contract, then they couldn't be a speaker. Y'all just saw the summit that just went by. There wasn't a single speaker that said, oh, I want to be a speaker, but I don't want to sign that contract. The only person that's in fear of a contract is you. And let me just throw this out here. The only reason why you're afraid, because you think of stuff like, well, what if I don't do a good job? And what if they're not satisfied? You better get your shit together. My clients know that they deliver. I know that I deliver. So I'm never going to be sitting here on the side of, oh my God, I hope that this works out right. No, I always give above and beyond. Dissatisfaction with me will never be it. People will be dissatisfied with themselves, but not with me, which means you will never be eligible for a refund.
I love it. I don't know what else to say after that. I mean, you're thorough. What else is there to say? I will say this, though. I've been, not as a coach, but as a client, I've employed other people to help me with things. I had a graphic designer that I was working with, and I was stupid. It was very back in the beginning of my business. I did not have a contract, but I paid him up front. And it wasn't like some chump change. It was like $200 for a design, and I paid him for $4, just because I knew him. We were working on another project together where he did have a contract, and I knew they ran him all over the block trying to get this stuff done. But he started flaking on me after a while, and I did not feel like chasing it, and it didn't seem like one of those things that I wanted to put my foot down, like send me my money back or nothing. I just let it go. But it was because I didn't do my due diligence. I did not protect myself. Even as a client, I did not insist on a contract. I did not insist on terms, none of that. So I sent the money to him. He definitely, received everything, but that was my fault. I felt like I took an L on that one on purpose because I did not cover my ass on that as a client looking for someone to help me with something.
Absolutely. And I need you guys just not to have any limits. And, this example will never get old, but a lot of you don't believe that you can have contracts in place for certain types of services. So back in 1992 is when I started braiding hair. I was on my own by 1995. And I want to say by 97, 99, I got tired of people setting appointments. So for me, you set your appointment, get your hair braided. It may be quick braids to the back of 30 minutes. It may be a bunch of long, small braids for, 8 hours or so. Now, even though I might make $200 off of this hairstyle, if you blocked off an entire day, that ain't like a walk-in at the salon where I'd be like, hey, you want to come and get your hair done? Even though I did have people, my clientele was so robust that I did have people that was like, did she come? Did she come? Because she didn't, I'm going to take a spot. Seriously. But with that kind of business, I was like, I'm not like a typical salon. So you need, what differentiates you? People always talk about what's your unique selling proposition. Even though I didn't use this vernacular back then, I knew that the unique selling proposition with Braids by August is that you did not get the salon experience. When you came, you walked in the door, I was already bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Even if you came at 5 o'clock in the morning, you sat in my chair immediately. And if I told you it took 5 hours, I would say, give me 30 minutes, give or take. You were out of there in 4.5 to 5.5 hours every single time. I knew how long it took me to do what I do. I could look at a person's head. I could estimate it, the whole nine. And so what did I start doing? I started telling people, well, you know what? If you want to get your hair done by me, you have to do 2 things. You have to come so that I can observe your hair, make sure that it's braidable, clean, blah, 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 all these different things, because you start dealing with shit. You learn as you go.
Yeah.
And then I can also give you what your price will be and that you can pay a deposit. Now, I did hair in my home. Listen to this whole story, you all, because I don't want you to put any limits on yourself. One of the first things a lot of people would say to me was, I don't want to get my hair done in somebody's house because I think that's going to be a ghetto experience. The last time I got my hair done, it was some young girl, and it kept on being knocks at the door. I just know they were selling drugs out of there. I've heard every kind of excuse. But I still had long-standing clients. And the ones that never gave me any problems, I did not put that on them. I let them know that I was initiating contracts and that if they missed one appointment without giving me proper notice, that they would then become contract status. Then all the other new people that they sent to me, it was understood that if they came, they had to sign a contract. They had to make a deposit. I had a timeline. If you didn't reschedule within this time frame, that you lost your deposit. And even if you did reschedule that time frame, you also had the $25 of the deposit went towards rescheduling. So that was added to your balance once you came and got your hair done. And you want to know what happened? My clientele became even more niche down. That meant that I had a lot of people who owned their own real estate companies, that were bank managers, that were CEOs, because they didn't have a problem with contracts. And they said to themselves, if this young woman right here, who's barely, 21, 22, 23 years old, can look at her business and say that these are the requirements, that's the kind of person that I want to deal with. Because if I tell her I'm coming at 5 o'clock in the morning to get my hair done, she says it takes 2 hours. I need to be out the door and on the highway by 7 o'clock so that I can get to the office by 8 to prep at 8:30. They knew that that is exactly what was going to happen. So when everybody and their mama was just having walk-in clients in salons for braids or people setting appointments, I had people coming to my home and signing contracts. And even after I stopped taking them, probably like 5 years later, my most faithful clients were like, hey, she might want a contract. Because your clients will sell for you. They will be the best. That's why the word of mouth is the best form of promotion, because they will always lay it down for you. So some of you need to have contracts in place, but you've limited yourself. You've said, well, with this type of thing, it's really, they come and they pay and they go. Okay, if that's how you feel, but after you experience enough stuff, you're going to learn the hard way. So like, for instance, I'll add this too, braiding people's hair. Some people literally do have big heads. Some people have thin hair. Some people have more hair follicles. And so it got to the point when I would look at somebody and I'd be like, yep, on somebody else's hairstyle would take 8 hours, but on you it's going to take about 10. So for them, it would have cost $200, but for you, it's going to cost $250 because I was able to take all of that into account. And guess what? I was able to tell them that because I went through enough of the drama enough times to realize that, oh, dang, man, I can't just get these prices over the phone. I literally need to see these people because they telling me it ain't that short. And now I'm braiding eyebrows. Bet you got baby hair. I need an extra fee for pinching my fingers that close to your scalp. So protect yourself. You can have a contract if that's what you require for your business.
I think that's great, but you've always talked about doing like personalized services, right? I guess that's where it started, right? You had to see them in person before you could personalize the time and the cost of the service itself. But that's beautiful. You said something about being in the business long enough, having seen so many things that you knew it was going to take. So you were better able to manage everyone's expectations. And that's something that people need to really consider, not just in business, in relationships in general. If you can manage the other person's expectations, the line of communication is better. There's less room for misunderstanding and dumb shit to happen where they're like, oh, well, you ain't telling me that. Yes, I told you. I told you all of that. Whether you were listening or not, I don't know, but I told you all of that.
Yes.
So I think that's something people need to consider as well. Yes, you need a contract, but I think the contract needs to evolve as you evolve. So you take into account all the little things that go wrong as it goes. It can't be one of those cookie cutter, download it off the internet. It was a template. Nah, you gotta read through the contract too and make sure that it fits you. Go ahead. I see it.
I got something for that one, but so number one, let me just add to what you said, because that was beautiful. At the end of the day, you holler and picture your fingers trying to braid the baby hair. So
I'm glad you said eyebrows, but go ahead.
Yeah, look, and I won't even talk about it. I see it. But anywho, you said something that was important, that the contract basically does not substitute the need for communication. You should still, anybody that works with me, they get a thorough explanation from me. And some people, depending on, and you can feel certain vibes. And it's not that you think that somebody's going to be janky, but just in case there's like, you feel like they are kind of too lax, I'll take my Zoom meeting and share my screen. So you know what, let me just share the contract with you really quick. I want to go to the main bullet points to make sure you understand what all this entails and break it down. The contract does not relieve you of the necessity to communicate. Okay.
Yeah.
And so back to this one client that I had brought up earlier. Now this is technology on a whole nother level. Now, first of all, my client, I will say this, she was out of order. I required her, I told her to get her contracts in order. We talked about the bullet points of some very critical things that needed to be in her contract. And one of the things, so giving y'all the game again, if any of you know graphic designers, I told her that when you finish the website, you need to have them on video. You need to have them live recorded on Zoom and say, hey, this is just for documentation. I'm going to go through your site and I need to have it that, you know, you're saying that you're satisfied with everything. She also had another sheet that says, you know, you got X amount of revisions. If you don't say something by this time, then you are saying that you accept the site as it is. But when it was time for her to create her contract, she took the lazy way out. She took the lazy way out and she copied somebody else's contract, somebody that was scary, who left a clause in there to give the person an opportunity to say they wanted their money back. The only thing that kept this client from being able to get their money back was the way that the individual went about it. What they did is they went through the entire process up into a certain point. And because she did have certain tracking, you know, a lot of you all, you can have tracking links on stuff. She could see where the person opened the contract, read the contract, you know, using Dubsado and different things like that. She could see when the person was looked at the website or did all of these different things. And you could tell that without getting all the details and without giving up this person and who it is, to make a long story short, it looked like the person decided they wanted to do something else with their money. And so they took the situation all the way to the very last day and then tried to switch things at the very last minute. So I was able to help her save her neck and to be able to keep the money. But I also had to tell her, go fix your contract. I said, this is not even you. This is not your language. This is not what you would say. And I would also like to add this, that she was not a one-to-one client when she was told to do this stuff. And just please understand this. So people might be like, wait a minute, Peekaboo over here saying you thorough, but how did this happen to your client? When people are in my groups, I advise them on things that they need to do. But when you're a one-to-one client, I'm there digging through it all. I don't even care if it's an email with a call to action. I'm like, oh, this is a bad spot for the call to action, or you didn't lead into the sale right. So when she became a one-to-one client, I was combing through her contract reading and it being like, damn, well, why did you say that? You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the reason why there was that gap right there. So there's certain services and there's a certain in-depth part of me that you get working with me one-to-one versus working in a group. But she knows that what she did, that wasn't her. And I told her, it would be better for you to have a layman term contract. What's wrong with a lot of you all is you're trying to go and copy and paste something off of a legal website and you don't even understand the vernacular that's on there. You need to take it back to the old school where people can still get in trouble in the court of law for writing an agreement on a fucking napkin. Okay? It's not about the technical jargon. It is about the very clear, explicit explanation of what the terms of service agreement is, what the policy is, what the return policy, your guarantees, and so on and so forth. So we ain't got to beat the horse. I think the horse is dead. This was you guys.
I don't see many comments on my end, so I keep looking, but nothing at the moment.
Yeah, everybody's quiet. I think Anitra Booth, she could raise her hand if she wants to.
Thank you, Anitra.
Last comments. I could keep going. There's plenty more I can say, but come on, y'all. Y'all know I gave y'all a lot of juice. I gave y'all a lot of juice in this podcast.
You still there, Anitra?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, she said, "Wait a minute. Let me say something." Come on, Anitra Boo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mutant. But you're absolutely right, especially when it comes to contracts, because when you don't know what you're doing, what is the first thing you do? You go out to legal contracts,
legal Zoom, whatever. Yep.
and you got a 10-page contract you don't understand, but you're about to give it to somebody else to sign, and it's not in your terms. It's not you. It's not necessarily your services or any of that. And you're like, well, I gave them a contract, but does it explain everything that you do or every service that you're going to give them? And so, like, even for me, I have a workshop coming up. Well, my workshop contract is only 1 page, but if you're actually working with me one-on-one, that contract's a little bit more in depth because, again, it is your intellectual property. So I know what I'm working with when I'm working with you. With this workshop, it's not exactly the same. It's still your intellectual property. However, I'm not actually touching it. I'm teaching you how to touch your own stuff. Right. So the contract is just a little bit different, and it's definitely shorter. So those types of things, yeah, you got to be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
It's not enough to look official. It's got to fit your business too and the way you do things. So yeah, please read through all the clauses before you send it out to people.
Yeah. And for my super duper ultra loving giving people, a lot of my clients will tell you that I do serve above and beyond. So you are one-to-one, and my contract explicitly states that in between your sessions that you may have 15-minute interim calls, and that if your call is in excess of that, then those are billable hours. But I still have yet, in being in business for as long as I have not charged a single client for extra time with them. I have had clients that have had meltdowns, and we have talked on the phone for 45 minutes, 20 minutes. Shit, I've even had one for an hour and a half. I didn't have anything going on, and I just wanted to give that. But here's the thing. August knows that she can go and overgive. In the moment that I feel exhausted or like I'm giving too much, or I think that someone may be taking advantage of me, I have that clause to go back to my contract. And you better believe when people sign the contract, I tell them what I just said, that I have had yet to charge somebody for this. However, I want you to know that I have this in place and I only owe you 15 minutes. And that if you go in excess of that I could charge you, once again, clearly explaining to protect myself. So some of you all may be like, well, how do I, give that experience? Well, a lot of times how you give that experience and that wow factor, it has a lot to do with how you show up and how you present yourself. But you can't get so lost in trying to give the wow factor that you don't legally protect yourself. And so I do. And you loving and trying to figure out how much of what you do is mission and ministry versus business. Nah, darling, I'm gonna need you to protect yourself. So any last?
And you know what? That goes back to you managing expectations. You've told people exactly what you will and won't do, and then if you have the time and you can manage it and you feel like it would help, you add in. But that's on your discretion. It's not on the other person.
Absolutely. So if we didn't learn anything else today, we've definitely learned that there's definitely more to being a business owner than just saying I'm open for business and I'm here to collect money. There's so much that goes into running a business, and a lot of you, you're open, you're vulnerable. Or even you might be like, I got a contract, but you're not covering all bases. You got something in place because you're so busy trying to prove to the consumer that you'll protect them, that you're not protecting yourself. And if you don't do what you need to do to set it up right, a lot of you are like, why isn't the universe blessing me with more? And the universe is like, because I'm trying to protect your dumb ass, because you trying to get these people. And if all these people come to you, you're going to get set up. You're going to be stuck like Chuck. People going to use your services and they're going to bail on you. Part of having true faith and believing in your business is operating in a spirit of excellence with how you take care of your business, baby. So you guys already know the spiel. You already know the spiel. All you got to do is sign up for Fix My Business. It's literally only $197 a month at the base rate to come in and get stellar advice for your business and feedback to make sure you're doing everything that you need to do to make sure that you have a profitable and sustainable business. Because if you want the legal fire all the time, I don't care how profitable you are, you will not sustain for very long. So no more shucking and jiving. I'm going to continue to share the link. Come and join Fix My Business. If you want to go look on the website, go to augustcrenshaw.com/services and click the DWI, your business being built with you. But there is an announcement. Some of y'all know y'all need to stop faking, because this thing right here you're watching using live video is what's going to make people love you. It is what causes people to get the know, like, and trust factor out their brain. They ain't even realize it's already taken care of. If you're going to build an online business, why are you not using the ultimate online tool? Literally for $47, you can be in a 5-day workshop with me. Those of you that know about my Master in Live Video Bootcamp, now called Capture Clients with Live Video Challenge, you all know that book is a beast. 5 days of training with me and Q&A to help you with your marketing message and understanding how to present it in video form. You don't want to miss this bad boy. Literally only $47, and it kicks off on the 25th of June. If you have not signed up yet, I don't know what you're waiting on, or you didn't see the ad. So that's okay. So I'm telling you now. So make sure, I'll put the links in the comments too, but you can still always go to my website and just go to the live video tab to see the details. You're going to get coached by me in a group coaching setting for 5 days in a workshop. This is thefreakingbomb.com. Pika, you participated in it before.
I want to chime in actually, because y'all see me go live all the time, but it's different when you're actually trying to do it with intent for your business. It's not just to be on there like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. That's it. No, I want to make sure that whatever my message is, it's in line with what I'm doing as a business. So that's where August comes in, right? She's not letting you just go on and just get out your, get the fear out. Just get online. No, it's not like that. She's got.
Business is strategic. This is not just you just go live. Matter of fact, Nitra Boo, if you still on here, you wasn't trying to do anything live.
That's absolutely true. I was scared to go live, and I was talking about that just the other day, because I found the video where the first time I went live, I looked like the Blues Brothers. I found that video. Like, oh my God.
When you accidentally hit a filter.
Yeah, that was cool though, because we all wanted to do it after.
But yes, because I wasn't trying to do anything that included pictures. So going live was like on a whole nother level. I was like, I need one my picture on Facebook. I put a 1975 picture up as my cover photo. So, going live was like, what? But I did it. I got over the fear and I did it. I did it in the group, which allowed me to come out and go live more and more and more, but with intention. So when I'm out there doing a call to action, or I'm out there informing people about what I do and how I do it, or just making those connections, it was all intentional, and it all came from that first challenge that I did on Capture Your Clients Live.
Yeah, and I like what you brought in is that it helps you with your communication, period, with your intentions, with what you're saying. So that's not just on live video then.
No, because it helped me with my post, my long post, my short post. I got all kinds of words I could tell y'all, but see, that's why you need August Crenshaw, so you can learn some of those words.
We go throw an ideal client on there as well, so that becomes even more intentional. So you're talking to your ideal client every time. So yeah,
Yes.
all these buzzwords, they're IP from August Crenshaw herself. So you need to check it out.
Yep, stop playing.
$47, 5 days. Let's do this.
$47, 5 days for you to be intentional about getting what you need for your business, getting what you need to speak to your ideal client. Showing up and just being live for the sake of being alive is just raising awareness of who you are. But how many of you have had people say, so what you do? And it's like, oh, well, I guess I never do put a call to action out there. A lot of people are just afraid just to even say, click my link. I don't want to seem spammy. Go to my page. I don't want people to think I am only out for their money. I even had a gentleman, you guys, reach out to me that said he wanted to take the challenge, and he had the same fears. He didn't like the way that he looked. He didn't like the tone of his voice. We had a quick convo, so if you got any questions, just ask me. But he was like, wait a minute. I'm feeling your vibe. I'm going to sign up for it. So this is not, masculine versus feminine, the liking the way you look, being concerned about what you're saying and how you're saying it, how you're presenting yourself. It's different when you're representing a company, but when you're representing your business, that's when things get a little tricky. And if there's one thing I know that I can do is I can help somebody get that language down so plain. See, a lot of people will help you create an avatar and a so-called ideal client, but how many of them will really teach you how to connect with them? They got you saying, no longer a marketing mess, but a magnet. You like trying to do that to, advertise your social media campaign and, your social media strategist business. And you really should just be saying, look, you overwhelmed and tired. You don't have time to be promoting your business and serving clients. Whatever it is that you're supposed to be saying to your audience, that's what this is all about. It's about mastering your marketing message in such a manner that you're confident using live video, and it will end up, it's a residual impact. It's going to affect everything else. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. $47. We start on the 25th. And if anybody's wondering, you will have 1 week, even after the workshops are over, to stay in the group. And so if you don't let the fact that you don't have time on those days bother you, you come in, you watch the replays, and you participate. So you got access to me as a coach for 5 days actively. You got access to the material for 2 weeks for you to be able to chime in and get the information to understand how to communicate your business effectively. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Anitra, for being such a cool guest.
Thank you, Anitra. Yeah, man.
Yes, it's always so much more fun when we have conversation. Of course, Pika, always thank you to you for hanging us out here at obscene times. And thank you to everybody that listens. I'll even hang in while I'm pitching. I love y'all. Share this video out for all of your friends that you want to protect in business. For those of you that are hearing the podcast next week, don't forget, join us. You can go to my Creative Business page to sign up for the event. We are live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Monday, doing the podcast live, engaging in the conversations. And if you ever have a request for a specific topic to be covered, let me know, because we are not afraid to talk about anything business related. All right? So there it is.
Thanks again, August, for having me.
You're welcome, darling. Hasta pronto.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomen.don't bitch podcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in